Teachers are starting to embrace the idea of students not being, I'm sorry for this nasty word, but regurgitators, but having them become creators. Teachers are not know-alls, and they don't have to give, a student doesn't have to have a book or a teacher to learn anymore, that teacher is, again, more facilitator in finding those really good, robust primary resources, or just those resources that are going to help that student.
Welcome, everybody, back to another exciting episode of the Undisrupted Podcast. Adam, it is summertime here in Texas and in Georgia. I'm sure you're feeling the heat right now. It's like 110, and we're recording this at 9 in the morning or 10 in the morning your time. I always get into this debate with people, though, because we've been talking lately about some of the changes that schools need to make. And I know that in most other countries, there is kind of this year-round philosophy. But here, you know, in the U.S., we still have summers off. Where do you fall on that debate? Summers off or year-round?
Well, you know, I've always been a fan of the balanced calendar. That's what they kind of call our calendar here in Georgia. We still have a summer, but we get like a week off during every other month or something like that. We get like a week off in October, a week off in November, 2 weeks for December, a couple weeks in February. I'm a fan of that, but the 2 week, you do have the 2 months during the summer, you do have that summer slide that students get. And what I'm seeing is we're always doing all this summer enrichment or summer remediation anyway. So we need to really look at year round, but this is to be a great opportunity to bring in that hybrid stuff. You know, we got really great experience with virtual learning, digital learning during the pandemic. Why don't we leverage that and create a more year-round approach utilizing those resources? You know, that's where I think we can get our most bang for our buck for some of these school districts that are hesitant to really go with the virtual learning model. Utilize that during the summer and really be able to kind of stump the summer slide or really enrich or move students forward, kind of have a year-round approach. You know, that's kind of where I'm coming from on that. What about you?
Yeah, I know a lot of schools kept their devices or let their kids keep their devices over the summer. I don't know if you guys did that as well. We'll introduce our guest here in just a second to talk about that too. But I think that's an opportunity. You're right. If there was something that they had already kind of designed, let's say just an 8-week program that is very asynchronous, you can go in and you can take care of certain little things, little prep stuff. Like I would love for my third going into fourth grader to have at least starting on the right foot. So we're doing some old school mix up. You know, they sent home these giant thick workbooks and they said, you should use these because guess what? We never use them during the school year, even though the school district paid for them. This probably sounds familiar, but we're going to send them home with you anyway. And then go ahead and use them or throw them away. We don't care. They're consumable. So we're trying to use those here in the house and then mixing in some ed techie stuff, mostly math and reading. But yeah, I think the slide is an issue. I will say the counter to it, you know, for a tech side is that, you know, you have time to get big projects done when you have that much time off.
Oh,
like
gosh,
rewiring campuses and closets. But let me bring in Cristin Kennedy here. She is the newly retired director of instructional technology at Cobb County School District in Georgia, right down the road from me. I think in Marietta, right, Cristin?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So retired life, you know, for all of us out there listening, they just can't wait. Is it as exciting as we think, or are you just bored out of your mind? How long have you been retired, first of all?
3 weeks.
Oh, okay. So, and you're ready for another job, right? You're already looking for something.
Not yet. No, I've gone to the beach. After I get off the call with you, I'm going to go play pickleball. So no, I'm filling my time.
Living your best life. Where are you on that debate of the year-round versus summer?
That's interesting. I like Adam's take on it, and it's in Cobb County. I can speak to that. It's kind of, we are a balanced, just like with Newton County.
Mm-hmm.
We have a break in September or late September. We have the same kind of built-in breaks, and it's great for families who that have the opportunity to go and have their kids go to other places and do other things. But we have a lot of kids that don't have that opportunity in our school district. And so our district will put in what they call quests during that time. And they hire teachers and they build in quests or camp time for them to explore and have fun, but then continue that momentum. And with COVID, we have that funding now too. So this is our second
Nice.
year that we have Summer
Hmm.
Quest. And so we have a lot of students. Last year it was kind of that virtual concept, Adam, that you were talking about, and Carl, you were talking about. This year it is face to face, and it's just in the morning. It's not a whole day, and it's more of a quest and an exploration time, but then also just building in time for that practice reading. And I had the opportunity, I taught school when my girls were growing up. So I had that summertime. So I could take them to Fernbake. I could take them, and we would
Oh,
have those little thick workbooks that we'd buy
yeah.
at whatever, learning something. And it was a task, sit down and do this. You have to do this
Yeah.
before we can go to the pool. But I think that districts are being really creative now on ways that they can really build in learning. And it kind of is that hybrid approach too. They have face to face time and having that fellowship time because the kids really need it right now, and the teachers do too.
Yes.
But then there's also a lot of online opportunities that kids can take advantage of, and they kind of gamify it as well.
Here's my little pet peeve about all the summer enrichment stuff. The fact that summer stuff is fun, and when the school
Yes.
year start, it goes to boring. Like, the kids are always like, "Oh my gosh, I love all this stuff during the summer." I mean, we're so creative with our summer programs, and there's no set English time, reading time, math time. It's all cross curricular.
Yeah.
All these fun hands-on activities we do during the summer, and then we're like, okay, school's starting. Let's put all this fun stuff away and do regular school. It just irks me to the
The
umpteenth
name. I think
degree
it's
that
yeah.
is what we do.
Amen. That's what I've been trying to do for the last how many years I've been in Cobb, is trying to transform that. So it makes sense, and it's kind of, to your point, your big mission as well as mine is that future ready, and getting the kids to understand what life is like and how can they, what they learn, how they can apply it.
Yeah, I think maybe we need to change the name of school because when you call it a quest or a camp, it sounds more exciting. So,
Yeah.
Yes.
hey kids, get ready. We're going to camp today. Really? I thought we were going to school. No, we're going to camp.
And a
but
lot of
That's
teachers do that already, but
yeah,
it's they're just pockets of innovation, and it
yeah.
needs to be more widespread.
That's the name of my heavy metal band is going to be called the Pockets of Innovation because I hear that so much. We're Pockets of Innovation. We're here to rock today. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem, and I think we can have leadership that tries to push it forward, but it has to come from the ground up, and the principals have to be
Yes.
supportive of it. And I mean, as much as the three of us want to kind of push that forward in our districts that we work with, but it still comes down to that leadership component.
Yep.
So, we talked about the summer slide, but let's talk about the workplace slide that happens with the transition of people leaving the workspace. There's always
Power back
a
in.
subtraction.
Yeah.
People say, addition by subtraction. Hopefully, that's not necessarily the case with you, but we have people that leave, and then we have this void that's there. And so in your space, what were you able to do, or have you been able to kind of prepare your district to fill the enormous shoes that not that you have big feet or anything, but
Figuratively,
figuratively,
yes.
yes, figuratively, the impact that you've been able to have in your system, like what have you been able to do to kind of prepare your department, the staff for filling and taking what you've done and moving it forward?
Well, I really believe strongly in shared vision. And so the team that I have worked with, 27 amazing individuals, I really have built in a lot of leadership roles for them. So, really having them take ownership as well, and having that purpose, and then being able to share and spread that vision with others. So our team really has deep, strong roots in a lot of different departments and divisions in our district, and really have strong relationships that I think that will continue. And then
Mm-hmm.
also I have really worked intently with principals who and district leaders who wanted to come. So we kind of had our own PLN time over the last 7 years. The last 2 years have been disrupted, uh, um, but really deep roots in talking about the why, talking about the purpose. To your point, Carl, earlier, it's just really getting the principals need to see it too. It's not just something that has to be a check the box. It has to be in their hearts and their minds of what they want their kids to be able to do. And long term, if it's kindergarten all the way up to 12th grade, we should be kind of having that shared idea and that shared vision. So I feel like I've really worked hard with different district leaders as well as school leaders to really build that capacity as well.
And I see that shared vision. I mean, the last time we saw you was at DLAC, I believe, in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, this is a leader who talks the talk and walks the walk. I was sitting, we were out, there was a little lobby area, there's some couches, and you were surrounded by your team. And I will just say, I felt you were surrounded with love and joy. And actually, Joy was there because she's someone on your team.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bring the joy.
The greatest fan.
Hashtag bring the joy. But
Yes.
that doesn't happen just out of coincidence. What did you do, or how did you create a culture with your team of that kind of shared vision, that contentness? I mean, was there purposeful things you did? Are there activities that you did with this team? Like, how did you build that over the years?
So one thing is that I had the position that they had before I became the director, and
Okay.
so I really have empathy and always felt that sense of urgency to support them. And I never felt that I was their boss. I was their partner. And we had really strong partnerships, and we really talked things through and really educated ourselves. And, John Gordon has the one word. And so when I took that position, my word was intention. Do everything with intention and really stay focused. So we did, when I first became director, we had a boot camp. And you probably, if you asked any of my team members that are still on the team, they would be like, that was intense. And I'm like, right, that's what boot camps are. They're intense. But we really focused on the why and who we are, not what you are or what I am, but who we are. So I'm very inclusive. I really want to make sure that I'm building capacity with other people's, and by building capacity, it builds my capacity too, because I know a little bit about a lot of things, but then I try to put people around me that are really, really good in certain areas, and then together, all of us together, really make a strong bond. So I think mutual respect, building capacity, and building intentionality, laughing a lot, and that nobody's perfect, nobody knows everything. And I think we all are passionate teachers as well. And so we really thrived on the passion.
Oh, awesome. So let me ask you this, because apparently you started doing this when you were like 10, so you're retiring
Yeah,
at
I still
30
can't believe she's
or something
retired.
like that.
She told us that the
I
other
know.
day. I was like, no way.
So in this role, and this is me. Now you can totally disagree with me on this, but I always say to be a leader, there's a certain level of hubris you have to have. To have the audacity to think that you can handle managing people and all this stuff that goes along with it. And so with that being said, on the back end, the part that the quiet part that we don't say aloud, we want to have some kind of legacy. When you leave a space, there's something that you want to stick your flag in, your Iwo Jima moment, whatever. You stuck your flag and say, okay, I did that. Not that that's what guides us, but when we look back at it. So what can you say, looking back on your career, what's been something that you're most proud of, something that you've said, they're going to remember me by this?
So again, 3 weeks in, and this is the first time that someone's asked me that question. I think my first gut feeling that just popped in my mind was that yesterday I was talking to a teacher who participated in summer professional learning that the instructional tech team is doing. And one of the participants said, "Where's Cristin? How's Cristin? What is she doing?" I mean, I want people to remember that I loved being in the classroom, that I loved working with kids, and I loved working with people, and getting them excited about ways to teach and transform and get excited about learning. So it made me feel really good when my friend was like, they remember you, they miss you, they want to know what you're doing now. And so I feel like just those relationships and really getting other people to look at different perspectives and taking risks and seeing how kids thrive from that, and how teachers thrive, and how principals thrive in not doing the same thing. Going again, so I always circle back, Carl, to that school versus learning. That
Yeah.
we're learning, and that learning doesn't have to be just a rote thing like, okay, now we're doing math, now we're doing this. That people are lifelong learners. So hopefully my legacy, I guess, I've never thought about that before, is that people are really passionate about learning and making the world a better place, than leaving it better than where they found it.
Yeah, and I
How
think
about
that
that?
that
Yeah.
leadership and that modeling that you do in terms of being present in the classrooms and within the training sessions, and not just like someone who sits behind a desk in an ivory tower kind of sending off messages. I think that's a huge part of why those teachers are still reaching out to you. You just said yesterday, and I'm thinking you've been retired for 3 weeks, but they're still reaching out to you. And
Yeah, yeah,
I've been retired since 2019. Retired, I say with air quotes because I never retired. But same thing. I still, that warms my heart too when people reach out to me and say, "Hey, can you just help me with this little thing?" And my wife's like, "You don't work there anymore." I was like, "Yeah, but I still care about those people, and I care about the learning that takes place."
yep.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had one of those moments this past Friday. We had music in our local park. It was the Michael Jackson Legends group performing, and it was this retired teacher actually came up to me, and she gave me this huge hug, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, Adam, thank you so much. All the tech stuff that you taught me over all those years, I'm still using that. I'm helping out my grandkids, and now I'm doing some consulting stuff, and I'm still using all that technology stuff. So thank you so much." It's like, oh,
Yes,
it's
yeah.
that feeling. You're like, oh, because you kind of lose it when you're not in the classroom anymore. That feeling of the student coming back to you saying, "Thank you,
I
wise
love
master.
that.
You've taught me well."
Yes.
So when the adults come to you and do it, it's like, oh, yay, I made a difference.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the pay is nice, but it's not great, and that's I feel like that was what makes the difference up in these jobs, especially when you're talking about education. But you've been you've been in the field for a while. You've seen a lot of changes over your tenure when it comes to technology, when it comes to education. Um, so I'm going to ask you kind of a two-part question. The first one is, what is something that you've seen during your tenure in education that you feel like made the greatest impact on learning when it comes to technology? And then secondly, what do you see as the biggest challenge in our system moving forward?
So I think, and just for the audience, I don't know these questions before they ask, so I have to take
No, no,
take a
no.
minute to
This is
pause
all.
and think.
We're throwing these at you. Yeah.
Yes, but again, just immediate thoughts is that teachers are starting to embrace the idea of students not being, I'm sorry for this nasty word, but regurgitators, but having
Okay.
them become creators, and
Mhm.
that they can, teachers are not know-alls, and they don't have to give, a student doesn't have to have a book or a teacher to learn anymore, that teacher is again more facilitator in finding those really good robust primary resources, or just those resources that are going to help that student um, learn. And of course the teacher always needs to be there, but it doesn't need to be whole group, let me profess this information. That the teacher now can be more of kind of like a doctor, and kind of listen, take the pulse, and then in a
Diagnose.
smaller group start really kind of tweaking, but then kind of as orchestra conductor, okay, everyone, now that we have this information, now we're going to do, such and such. So I really love how technology can leverage that teachers can be in more than one place at one time, and if they work smarter and work harder
Mhm.
in the beginning, and work collaboratively with other people and finding those resources. So to answer your question in the beginning, I think that the change of technology has really enhanced how teachers can really use the different resources, that some students can go here to get this, and some students can go there to get and these students need to spend some time with me before they go here or there. Um, and then the challenge, I think, still is um, not everyone understanding the big picture and just
Mm,
wanting to check boxes,
Mhm.
and not sitting down and taking the time to listen, and taking in everyone's perspective, and trying to compromise. And change in work and learning takes time. It's not something that you can do with a check of a box. Um, it is a project. It is a journey. It takes time.
yeah. And I think when we
So
have that, yeah, we have this short amount of time frame with people sometimes too, and our attention spans are less and less with TikTok dances and Adam's
Right.
OnlyFans account, and yeah, just I think it becomes harder and harder. I think to have that time to listen and kind of reflect. Yeah, it's great.
So let me ask you this now. Once again, you've already said it's only been 3 weeks that you've gone through this process, but I know as I've changed positions before, going to different districts or different areas, there's always something that I hate that I'm not going to be a part of when I leave,
Yes.
or
Yeah.
or we started this thing and then I left and like, oh, I'm not going to see it all the way through.
Mhm.
So, is there something that you're kind of thinking like, oh man, I kind of wish I was still in the district to see this through, or we're getting ready to do this thing and I'm not going to be a part of it? Is there something that's on your mind in that
A
area?
lot, a lot. I mean, it's when I put my letter in, when I did that, I immediately regretted it because I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm not gonna be part of this, and I'm not gonna be part of that." And one thing that I have been, a strong advocate for is not just one-to-one for every child having to have technology, but one thing that's really exciting is this past year, the, because of the pandemic, I guess it accelerated, all middle school students and all high school students in Cobb now have a device if their parent wants them to.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And just really seeing the change in dynamic of teachers, and they have all this skill and they've been so thirsty, like, I wish I had the technology, but I can't. I have to go to the computer lab, and the computer lab's booked now because we have to do testing. And so just seeing that dynamic this past year has been really exciting, walking into classrooms. And then another thing that I'm really missing is that it's now going into elementary. They're not being able to take them home, but every student will have a device in the classroom at all times. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
strongly advocating kids don't need to be on devices all day long, but at the same time, they have that resource now when they need it. And so I'm going to miss, seeing that in action. And hopefully, my team is my family, so I know that they're going to keep in touch with me, and I will see a lot of the things in action, but I do miss that. And also, we had a really great conference last week that I didn't attend just because of choices, but it was a big payoff for all the things that we've been doing all year with leaders and with students and with teachers. I wasn't there too, but again, I was stalking them on Twitter, and it was really great. We had students who were part of the keynote. We had student showcases as well as teachers presenting and building their professional learning. And so the nice thing is with Twitter and with other things, I still can celebrate successes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, watch from afar. I do love that. While
Yes.
you're describing that, you said advocating, so you're still talking in present tense, um,
Yes.
even though it's past tense in terms of the position. But I feel like you're still actively involved in it. I'll flip the question around and ask you. That was something you miss. So, what is something that you definitely will not miss anymore about being in this world?
Politics.
Yeah.
Politics.
Yes. Everybody out there listening, because this is like the number one reason why people are leaving education too.
Politics.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the parents, the politics in between departments and between.
It's not even the parents, really.
Really. So is it
No.
more the
With me, because the parents love the kids being the creators and the collaborators and stuff. They're like, give us more. No, I think it's just more upper level politics.
yeah, inner office politics? That's definitely a tricky thing.
The Game of Thrones of
Yes.
of school districts.
And I didn't get it, earlier, Adam, you were talking about, okay, so you have this job and now you're the leader. Like, I did not, I guess that's part of the reason why it works too, is I didn't seek out this position. My former boss said, you will apply, you will go through the interview process. And I never thought of this,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think it's good leaders are people who are not seeking out for the leadership job. It's more of that they're passionate about a certain vision or goal, and a mentor sees you to see, okay, I think if you're in this place, and gives you strengths and builds the capacity in you, and then you continue that momentum. Does that make sense?
That does make
Yeah,
sense.
I mean,
And I'm not a political person. I don't care what my title, but there are other people that do, and that's the negative side. Like,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, because I think Carl and I, we've had conversations before about sometimes which is sad. The sad part about our jobs at times, when you're really good at what you do, when you're getting this groundswell of movement going, there's always some people who get jealous or get in their feelings some kind of way. They're like, oh, well, why is Carl getting this? Why is this happening over there with Adam? Why is Cristin doing? And it's not even about that. Ultimately, we all are trying to do this because it's what's best for the boys and girls, and that we get the privilege to support in our school systems. But at times, people's ego gets in the way, and then that does kind of hinder the process of the movement, which is unfortunate. In a lot of cases, that happens. If we can get that out of it, but if we can get that out of a lot of stuff, we'd be we'd get a lot more done.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. We always ask our guests, what do they do to stay undisrupted? So let me ask you this, because retirement, this seems like a great disruptor. So how do you see retirement and all this keeping you undisrupted?
So I didn't do my homework, so I'm trying to think, what does he mean about undisrupted?
Well, usually it's in reference to like a school district. We're always like, hey, so next year you always problems and things you have to encounter, and how do you keep from keeping things, shaking up or undisrupted, because there's all the politics and then the devices and all this stuff. You don't have to deal with any of that anymore.
Right.
So how do you keep retirement from like clouding your so to speak?
You get to go on your back deck and enjoy some coffee, some Irish coffee, and feed the birds and
Yep. Yeah, well, you can see my bird feeder behind me. So that's really funny because, this is actually the start of the third week. And so the last 2 weeks is kind of like, Cristin, what are you going to do next? What are you going to do next? And I mean, again, yesterday I was sitting there talking to my friend. I'm like, well, the nice thing is that the feeder school into my neighborhood, which is a different school district. I'm in the city of Cobb, so the Marietta city. I was like, I'm really good friends with her. So I actually can go down there and hang out with her kids at any time. And she doesn't have to worry about paying me. She doesn't have to worry about allotments. Like, I know that I'm going to still, I miss the classroom, and I can see that the politics is not as bad down there. So, undisrupted, I feel like leaning in, keeping myself abreast of things. If people have questions, like you just sent me an email just last week, like, hey, let's connect. I'm like, okay, let's connect. What is next? Like, so I know that I'm not done. I'm not retired. I'm just ready for the next chapter, but I know that I'm very passionate about students and teachers and, happy teachers are happy students. And I really feel a passion for teachers right now and trying to figure out how we can support them. So I don't think I answered your question, but that's what's heavy on my heart right now, is that what can I do? And I don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, I have to make this paycheck. It's like paycheck's great, but I have a passion that I want to make happen.
I think you just came up with the title of your book. It's Happy Teachers Make Happy Students by Cristin Kennedy.
Thank you. Thank you. I did listen, actually. That's funny that and you can cut this part out, but yesterday I was like, let me listen to one of the podcasts, and one of the conversations that you started with was, do you write a book or do you get a doctorate?
Yeah.
And so Carl just answered my question. I'm going to write a book. I'm not getting in my doctorate.
Yes. I want to see it, and I'll be happy to read it. So, well, thank you, Cristin. This is Cristin Kennedy. She's the newly retired Director of Instructional Technology from Cobb County School District in Georgia. Thank you for joining us. And for the listeners out there, be sure to subscribe and give us a review. We'd appreciate it. We might even give you a shout out on a future show. This has been the Undisrupted Podcast, brought to you by Future Ready Schools. He's Adam, and you can follow him at AskAdam3.
And he's Carl, and you can follow him at Mr. Hooker. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are better together.
And we are better undisrupted.